Hey everybody, today we're going to introduce our project that we will have over Christmas break. It's called the Family Pedigree Project. We've been doing it for almost 10 years now. And what it is it's tracing your family lineage and one trait. And so what will happen is you're going to create a 3-generation family tree, but also include colors that will trace one Mendelian trait. Now the Mendelian traits we have to use because it's either you have it or you don't have it. So on the sheet it tells you that you can do straight hair versus curly hair, and wavy is curly. Widow's peak versus straight hairline. Tongue roll versus no tongue roll. Attached versus detached earlobes, or just if they have lobes or not. Hitchhiker's thumb. Freckles and non-freckles. Those are your options. Please do not do anything that is hair color related or eye color related. Those are something that are called polygenic traits, and it won't work for this activity. What you're going to do is you'll start off, this is the example that you have that you'll get handed to you if you don't have it already. You are going to put yourself in the middle of two families. All right, remember that circle denotes a girl, square denotes a male. And so you will put one side of your family on the right side. Okay, so this is my mom's side. The other side will be your dad's or your paternal side. Your parents should meet in the middle. Even though we say that you should go from oldest to youngest, that doesn't matter for this project. Put yourself in the middle. If one family is really, really big, you'll have to kind of scoot yourself over. If one family is really small, same thing. Okay, so you should meet yourself, whether you're circle or square, you should be in the middle of the two families. Okay, all right, so what you'll do is over Christmas, hopefully you're going to see your family. Choose one trait that has a little bit of variety to it. If everyone in your family can roll your tongue, try to do a different one other than that, just so that you can really trace the genetics of your family. You're going to go a minimum of 3 generations. So just a reminder, this first group right here, that is you and your cousins. This generation, sorry for the shakiness, that is next, this is your parents' generations and your aunts and uncles. If you have a bunch of aunts and uncles and a bunch of cousins, you don't have to include all of them. You can decide who to include or not to include. Otherwise, the family tree might look more like a family grassland. You should have your grandparents in the next generation, which is here. If they are deceased, or if anybody in your family is deceased, ask your family for their information. If they don't have the information, just leave the box or circle blank. And then lastly, if you know the information on your great-grandparents or 4 generations, that just makes your experiment a little bit better. You can do that. It is not required. All right? Once you are done kind of assessing each of the traits, you're going to choose a color where one trait is one and the other is another. So here is Emily Benrud's from a few years ago. And so she did straight hair and curly hair, where curly hair was blue and straight hair was red. And so if we look at her, she put herself in the middle. This is dad's side over here with his siblings, cousins. This is mom's side with her siblings and those cousins. Okay, and then also the grandparents are shown as well. That's one example. Emily did a very good job on hers. Here's another example. This is Sydney Lodemeyer's from a while ago. So she also did curly hair versus straight hair. She did a really good job of keeping the generations together. These are cousins and her, aunts, uncles, parents, and then grandparents up here. So we really want to try our best to keep those lines nice and straight and keep your family pedigree as close to even as we can. Once you have chosen your trait, once you have gotten your family tree, I would suggest first of all do it on scratch paper first, and then with the big piece of paper that I give you, or if you're not here in class, you'll have to find another big sheet of paper. That's when you should start doing your family pedigree, and try not to make as many mistakes on that. At the end of the project, so the first step is to color the boxes curly or straight. After that, your goal is to try to give them letters. Now, as we did in class, the recessive trait is always going to be small case letters, but in some instances, you don't know for sure whether they're big C, or big C, little c. You always put an underscore here, all right? And that we would have to wait to the next generation in order to see. Okay, so again, that's Sydney Lodemeyer's. This is a good one. And then here's Emily's, also a good one. Taking a look at the back side of the sheet that I gave you. On the back, there are all the different symbols and what that stuff means. We have run into everything at Goodhue. We've had families that don't know who the father is, don't know who the the grandparents are, or don't know characteristics of them. We've had families that have been really, really big. We've had families that have been really, really small. Long story short is that you can always find a way to do your family tree. Now, in the case of adoption, if you look at that symbol, you just put a bracket over that. I still want you to look at your family lineage and your family trait and kind of trace the traits that are found within them. All right. Lastly, if you don't see your family at all, or if you don't see a side, you can just leave that side blank. If you are completely stuck and don't know of any family or just can't get information, you can ask to borrow from another one of your classmates and look at their traits. So those are your options. All right, a few of the common scenarios that we oftentimes see. Everyone has some issues within their families, and that's completely normal. But one that we see that is very common are divorces. And so when we do that, we still have the biological dad, biological mom, and let's say that they had a child, say in this case it happened to be a son, and those got divorced. Or let's say that they weren't even married. It's not a big deal at all. We just put a slash through it. Okay, a slash means that it's either divorce or separated. Okay, same thing even if they were unmarried. If mom gets remarried and has a child, let's say a daughter, that's how we would denote that. When you do this, you are only going to look at your biological bloodline. So even this dad married in, or let's say that this dad was married before and they had a son and another son. You can include them, so that would be like half brothers or step brothers, step sisters, half sisters. You can include them if you want, but we're really focused on your direct bloodline. Okay, so again, this was our original. You would want to trace your mom and her siblings. You'd want to trace dad and his siblings. Okay, so you can kind of pick and choose what you include or not include. I'm not going to turn you in if I see that you left someone out of your family tree. I don't know everyone's family tree front and back, but just do your best to try to include as many as you want. The other scenario that we see is, let's say that within these siblings, so again, this was you originally. This would be like a half sister or a stepsister, half brother, step brother. You do not need to include your, what would be like your nieces and nephews, or your, I guess it'd be a lineage, the next generation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All we care about is you and your cousins, your parents and their siblings and marriages, and then your grandparents. You do not have to do your grandparents' siblings. That would be a lot. So in short, you're going to try to create, first of all, start off with a family tree. Do that on scratch paper. You're going to make mistakes, no big deal. Try to keep like generations along the same plane. Again, looking at our example here, Notice how they're all in the same lineage. You're going to choose a color for that trait. You can research which trait is dominant. That's not cheating whatsoever. And then after you're done with the coloring, you're going to try to give each individual their own letters based on the information that's given. If you have questions, make sure that you send me an email over break. This will be due upon our arrival back after Christmas break. You have this sheet that has all the different symbols on the back. If there's something that's not on here, again, shoot me an email and I can help you out. This is the example one of my family. I did not include any divorces or anything on that one. I just went direct bloodline, and you can choose to do the same. All right, again, all of us have different families. All of us have different issues that we have. Don't feel bad doing this assignment. I don't want this to be a burden to you, but I do want us to learn about genetics and crosses by doing this. Have fun.